Okay, we're getting involved in a new chapter, the chapter on job order costing. The objective of any costing system, is to determine how much one product costs. How much material is in it, how much labor is in it, how much overhead is in it. This first chapter on product costing addresses the methodology called job order costing, a very common method used in industry, or at least at the very least, a prevalent form that gets expanded when we get into the chapter on standard costs. Now, this particular costing method, I want to underscore something, is based on, it's called a normal costing system, so it's all based on actual costs. Okay, keep that in mind. The job order costing system that is described in this chapter is based on actual costs. Now, to get people to understand this particular concept, I have a chart which you should have a copy of. It's this manufacturing product and product cost flow. And I'm going to address each three of these. And if you can envision this, each of the activities are slightly different. This is the physical flow of product through a manufacturing operation. This is the job order costing system that overrides, or if you see, oversees or manages the costing of the product as it moves through that process. And lastly, there is a financial accounting system that works underneath all of that. Okay, they all kind of, everything is kind of in sync. Now, they don't actually happen synchronously, but the representation is as the product moves through a factory, there is a job order costing system that is collecting the costs, and there is a financial accounting system that's keeping the balance sheet in order. Okay? So I'm going to walk through each of these three over the course of the next few videos. The first one is a physical flow. And there's a couple of terms that are going to be addressed in this physical flow. When a manufacturer of a product, I could use this pen as an example, or a Tommy Bahama shirt, or anything else, we order raw material component parts from various vendors that we do business with. If I were in the electronics business and I was making computers, I would be buying perhaps LCD screens from Samsung. I'd be buying memory chips from Micron. I might be buying CPU chips from Intel. I might be buying graphic chips from NVIDIA, cabling assemblies and things of that nature from all these various suppliers. I order those materials from my suppliers, and they then ultimately get delivered. Up comes the Federal Express truck, comes up to the receiving dock, and I have a receiving clerk or a receiving associate who then will receive that information, receive that delivery. He or she in turn will look to see whether or not there is a purchase order for that material. Did I order it? Did we order it, this company I work for? And if they did, I'm going to match that purchase order up with the packing slip to say, I ordered 100 of these widgets and you're delivering me 100 of these widgets. It's from the vendor that we ordered them from. Thank you very much. I'll sign acceptance and I receive them. I will normally then take that material and I'm going to enter it into a job order costing system. That's a task that I'm going to do to tell the world inside the buildings here that, hey, I received this material, it's here. And then I'm going to physically place it in a store room or a stock room or an inventory location. And that inventory location is usually referred to as raw material inventory. It's all the various raw material component parts that we use to make whatever we make. And guess what? It's now on your balance sheet. You got it. Now, once you've received that material, it will typically go into that raw material storeroom, which more than likely is going to be a secured space that nobody can get into except those people that are authorized to go in, because you got some expensive stuff in there. Now, that raw material is ultimately going to be used to make something. So what will typically happen is someone who controls what gets produced and when it's produced, usually someone in a department called production control, uh, or something along those lines, will decide I need to make X number of part number so and so. I need to make 100 of these. That order will then come down to these personnel, and these personnel will then say, okay, I'm going to take that raw material and I'm going to put it in whatever I've got to put it in, and I'm going to send it over to the production floor. This is where all of the people will then take that raw material, and we will add direct labor and we will add factory overhead, and we'll start producing the product. That location on the production floor or the manufacturing floor really has a name. It's called WIP. Work in process. It is in the process of being converted from raw material into a finished product. Once that happens and all of the material and all of the labor and all of the product is done, and I got one and it's done, I will then send that product over to another location, likely secured, and it's called my finished goods warehouse or my finished goods inventory. And I will keep that material there until I sell it, or you always hope that as soon as you finish making it, it will then sell. So you won't have a lot in finished goods. But then that's a different question. That's a question about how much inventory you want to have in each of these locations, and that's going to be a function of the product, its costs, and a variety of other things, which is not important at this point in time. But that product then will be completed, it's stored in inventory, and it includes all of the material, all the labor, and all the overhead. This is just a physical flow.